So as the snowball continues to build, after 2003, things are going great. You make some wins off the back of that decision. And I want to take you to 2010 because I've heard you describe it, that 2010 to 12 period as really difficult years. And I think it was in conjunction with trying to get into the US market and your experiences there. Was that the hardest time? And was it all moving in a direction and then you hit that sort of speed bump?
Yeah. I mean, there's many challenging, hard times along the way. But I suppose we had that groundswell of interest, and we became a household name to some degree. I think Kevin Roberts did a book called The Love Marks, and
I remember that. I studied that at uni.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he put us down. I think we're in the book, or we're an official love mark, which, it was cool. We're a love brand. And then that was true. Like, people supported it, and we got to the business to a point, whereas I suppose we didn't know what's next. We're like, where do we go from here? Like, and I suppose that was, we started listening to others for direction. This is when we started thinking, over the mind.
Yeah.
And not we were lost, but it was, it was a challenging period. We were successful. It seemed like every other brand wanted to work with us, and it was cool and meeting all these people. And I think we started even doing New Zealand Fashion Week and doing these like shows that turned into parties, and it was all cool. But then it was like we started taking lead from others about our direction, and one of them was to go to the US, and so we went, okay, good idea, and then we put the work in, did the mahi, went up to the US a few times, did the research, met people, built a range, and got out there successfully. I've been up in Las Vegas. We'd partnered with Vice magazine, did a party at one of the hotels. They managed to get it sponsored, so it was like, I think we did an ad in Vice, and then they were like, okay, you're in the crew, we'll get some big other sponsors, and we'll do a massive party. And then I was like, wow, we're doing a Vice party, and it was crazy. We're doing some of the right stuff. Like, I think, we knew how to connect at that level and meet the right people to some degree, but then the execution of the business was the hard bit. I suppose we managed to take orders at the trade show, and then the partner that wanted to drag us into that pulled out. And we're like, we got a little taste of the US, and we're like, ooh, it's quite exciting, but it's such a big beast. And then we tried to replace the resource that was that partner, that was going to be our partner just for the US, and we kept going and delivered late and struggled. Then the thing called the GFC hit, and we're at the bottom of the pile, man. We're shipping to these cool stores in New York and LA and San Diego, and like, hey, where's the money? It's like, dude, you're long gone, man. All the stores got wiped out. Like, the GFC was more extreme in the US than it was here. Like, the lows were lower, and we not only the financial side of it, but also our focus was spread so wide. We're still, a New Zealand business was so important to us. Some production things were changing. All these big, quite serious things were going on, and it was just, our focus was so wide, and it just got really hard. We're just spread too thin.
How close were you to losing it all?
Pretty close. Really close. And it's, wow. It's funny. It's like when you can worry about things that haven't happened, right? You can go, oh, this could happen, or that. But when it's actually happening, I don't know if this is right, but when it's actually happening, you somehow have it's sort of easier to get through. I mean, it was hard, but just the stress and the worry, if you worry about things that haven't happened, but when you're actually in it, there can always be a way, and it was really hard. And when it's real, it kicks in, and you do everything you can to get through. And that was big. It took years to rebuild and recover, and then that's part of the next sort of step in the journey, I suppose.
We're going to talk a bit about your connection to mental health down the line, but reflecting on that period, I don't mean to drudge up the worst period of your life, but how was your mental health? Like, how did you cope through that time?
Support from friends and family, and I had some very kind people in my life that have helped out. I'm not sure of the motivation, but maybe for the fact that to not see an iconic New Zealand brand go down like that, maybe. But yeah, through maybe some loyalties, or it was amazing. Like once you're vulnerable and you put it out, and it's actually really happening. I think I've got a bit of a theory in life, but don't ask, don't get, politely. You know, hey, we're fucked. Can you help, please? You know, like, but you could hold it in and just hide it, but no one's going to help. So you got to communicate and be vulnerable to some degree.
Was it difficult for you to show those vulnerabilities in a business sense or in a personal sense, or if you can separate the two?
Yeah, it was hard. It was weird. Through that period, I slept really well because you could go away from it. So when it was really stressful and hard, you just go to sleep and everything was good, and then wake up and be rested and get into it, you know. But that was a really weird thing. I had really good sleeps, but I think I was just hiding from the stress. But yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, just getting support from people really helped, and just talking to people, communicating, connecting, all the simple stuff just helped you build the courage to push through.
So is it fair to say the community you had built helped Huffer survive, the support of those around you?
Yeah, in so many ways, from our end customer all the way through to mentors, people in the business, stakeholders. Like, yeah, that was, they turned up.
The next part in my notes has the beginning of a 10-year salvage mission. Because after this, you've hit rock bottom.
Yes.
You're wondering whether you're going to be able to survive. You do, and then you're slowly building up again.
Yes.
So what can you talk us through that period? Like, what's the strategic thinking of getting back on your feet?
Well, it was cleaning things up. As I mentioned, we're very wide, so it was time to get focused. Dan, who had started the company had left through that period, and no right or wrong, but I think it was time for a singular leadership with brand and what we're doing. And as I think at the time, in the lead up to those events of just, you know, expansion, GFC, and tough times, and maybe listening to others for advice, it was like time to come back internal and take a singular direction. It could have been anyone, but a direction was needed. And at the time, I was the sole director, and I was like, "This is what we're doing." And we just cleaned. It was cleaning up, clean the yard. You know, we had to pull out of the US, we had to self-stock, and we were just doing these sales. I was like, "Man, it's going to kill the brand," and it just showed how resilient the brand really was. Like, we just had to clear stuff and move out and improve things, and just go on a mission. And then we found our way, and then, by having again, either right or wrong, by having a singular direction for the brand, gave us the ability to create a pathway so that we could go down and execute, and then bring people along for the journey as well. So
was part of that like a national consolidation and focusing here in Aotearoa, New Zealand?
Yes.
Awesome.
Part of that was also having a closer connection with our customer. We opened a retail store, our first Huffer store, which was mind-blowing. Like, again, taking me back to that Queenstown moment when we were right there with the customer and seeing it and feeling it. And I remember, we had a store in Newmarket in Nuffield Street. We've moved with a Newmarket since, but that was a time when I think the brand was like maybe 14, 15 years old, and there was these schoolgirls coming in, and they were like, "Oh my God," and you could just see them. We had new campaign imagery on the walls, and there was our product, and I was just like, wow, you guys weren't even born when we'd started. So there was a moment there when I was like, wow, we've got through that hard period. Now we've survived a generation. And there was this new engaged, they couldn't even fit the clothes, but they aspired to it. They were like, I was like, wow, I could see this. By having a store, I was in the store, I could see that happening. And it was like, that was a moment where intergeneration, well, we became intergenerational to some degree. We'd survived a generation. And then from there on in, we just keep building our strength. Turn the down jackets from 400 to 2,000. And then build that sustainability. It wasn't about making money. It was about building. I mean, it is part of it because that's, you need to provide, but it was about sustainability of the business, to provide for, the growing part of it with retail, getting more people and layers, and there was a responsibility, and then to further ourselves and to improve our products, and it was cool. We started building momentum through the O's, is that what we call it?
Yeah, the noughties. The noughties.
Yeah.
It sounds to me as well like the creation of those physical spaces was really healing in terms of that regeneration and physically bringing people together. Yep. And is that where Free Coffee Fridays and those sort of concepts started to take flight? Yeah,
so retail, important because if you go to the sort of the business side of it, it changed our cash flow because, you're getting on a wholesale level where you sell to the old cheapskates, whatever, you ship it, they pay. But we had this cash flow, and then it changed the dynamic of our business on a business commercial sense. But yeah, it also gave the opportunity for people to come and hang out and be close to our brand. So we had these stores, and people were gravitating to the stores, and it came back to, sorry to go way back, but back to the 90s where I used to go and hang out in a skate store and dream about all the boards on the wall and watch the skate videos, and that was like an important role in the culture of skateboarding. But I was seeing that happening within our retail, and then so we, I think our second retail store was in our office on Queen Street and Grays Ave there. We had this old 1930s theatre, and then we had the space at the front. We could sort of have this sort of underground shop, and then we did, and then we knew someone that had a coffee machine. They go, we should put a coffee machine there so you can have coffee. And I was like, oh, should we invite some people down on a Friday on the way to work, come get a coffee and try and practice my skills? And then it just naturally, we go, this is cool. People coming into our office, our retail store, to see and be part of it. So it just organically grew and built. And so although, there was an era of Free Coffee Friday that we had, like Lord came down to make pancakes and made pancakes, and we had music showcases and all these things that turned into, Free Coffee Friday was the label, but what it represented is open door policy. Like, haere mai, everybody come on in, hang out. Coffee's free. We're not, it was about connecting and people coming together. We used our retail to do it, which has shaped some of the, it's shaped where we are today with our Huffer house in Britomart.
Coffee plays a big part in your life, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's addictive.
But not only as a drink itself, but also, I guess, as a concept, because we throw that around so much. Hey, let's go and have a coffee. It's code for let's go and connect and catch up. Is that an important part of your personal makeup and how you conduct yourself? Yeah,
I think, as you say, the cup's a conversation. Like, how long does it take to drink a coffee? You've the 8 minutes, or it's enough to see how someone's going, check in, or just have a basic connection. You might just talk shit the whole time, but that's still important. Coffee.
Is that why you took us for a coffee before we started recording?
See what I did? Yeah,
gets it.
Chill the nerves down, get to know you guys.
Yeah.
The coffee. Yeah, it's bigger than coffee. Yeah, and it always has been. It's just an excuse to stop. Like we still serve coffee in a retail store in Britomart in Auckland here, but the idea is to get people to stop in the store for over 8 minutes so you can get to know them, say hi, and maybe take something away from our retail. Not necessarily buying something that could come later, but it's just like soak it in, meet someone, chat to someone else. Because a lot of socializing. A lot of it happens in bars, which is all good. It's good to have a couple of beers for sure, but it's also good to do it in an environment. It's those Free Coffee Fridays felt like you're at a bar, but it was Friday morning. It was cool. It was buzzing, man. You're bouncing off people and like, oh hey, over here. And so just that sense of community building and connection, and it was awesome.
How many coffees are you rocking a day, just out of curiosity?
Oh, probably about 2 to 3.
Yeah,
depends. I got my pushes. I go to the Piha store. I got a little pad out there, and then Pete there just gives you another one before you had your first one. Yeah, oh man, there's some good baristas around that do that. They know how to get you hooked.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've now settled on 2 and then a decaf if anything. Anything after that.
Now you gotta be careful. It can build anxiety.
Yeah, Stephen gets a bit silly after your second long black.
I get a bit silly after my second. That's right.
Yeah, don't be scared to get a decaf.
Yeah, I've just made my peace with that. Literally in the last 3 weeks, that a decaf is actually okay. I was I was like firmly, I can't get a decaf. But no,
Well,
decaf's all good.
like a zero beer, right?
Yeah, same concept.
Yeah, you can. It just slows things down. Like I think you've got something to do, and then which helps create the conversation. It's a vehicle and a tool to help people connect.